Just one? Are you going to brace us for just one?
They were desperate. They were desperate.
Hi, Jess. Where's Erin?
Just went out.
Okay.
Got this on. Good morning, everybody. Come on down. We're going to get started with a little song by a guy you may have heard of. Really young. Yeah, we'll sing one. This one's Old Man, and the words are poignant, and I know they'll mean something to you. But just listen and sing along what you know.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. 24 and so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think the truth. Love lost such a cost. Giving things that don't get lost. Like the coin that won't get tossed. Moving on to you. Oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, I look at my life and you can tell that's true. Nobody's looking in your eyes, rolling around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me, it means that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past. But I'm all alone at last, moving home to you. Old man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, look in my eyes and you can tell that's true. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
This song has a lot to say about relationships, and it was funny when Neil wrote it. He was visiting an old guy on a farm that he was looking to buy, tons of land. And the guy looked at him and said, "What's a young guy like you want to do with a farm like this?" And then Neil wrote the song. A lot to do with what we see in life and how we interact with people. It affects us, doesn't it? It makes a difference in who we are and what we view life like. And so, as we share today and as we talk about today, the relationships we have with one another, with the world, but also God's relationship to us. How do we learn? How do we understand God in His truest aspect? We read His Word, we see the love of each other, and we understand through His creation all of what He has for us. So that's why we're here today, and we're glad you're here with us.
I thought we were saying about getting old because it's so much fun. During that song, I looked over and John's like, we don't need to pretend, John. We'll be there soon enough.
Won't you stay with us?
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you.
You guys can sit down if you like.
It's the light that pierces through you to the darkest hidden place. It knows your deepest secrets, but it never looks away. It's the gentle hand that pulls you from the judgment of the crowd. When you stand before them guilty and you've got no way out. Some may call it foolish and impossible, but for every heart it rescues, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than scandalous, this love that took our place. Just call it what it is, call it grace.
these orphans and sing crowns upon their heads. It's the hope for our tomorrows, the rock on which we stand. It's a strong and mighty fortress, even hell can stand against. Some may call it foolish and impossible, but for every heart it rescues, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than scandalous, this love that took our place. Just call it what it is, call it grace. Call it grace, call it grace. Amazing, unshaking, this is grace, this is grace. Unchanging, unfailing, this is grace, this is grace. Some may call it foolish and impossible, but for every heart it rescues, it's a miracle. It's nothing less than scandalous that Jesus took our place. Oh, call it what it is, just call it what it is, call it grace.
Again, I'm glad you're here this morning. Now, you noticed a little bit of stuff going on when you got in today, and there was a wedding here the other night, had a big tent, and they had sent some corner down and everything, but did you notice something else they left behind for a little while?
Yeah.
There's nice bathrooms over the side and everything. So that is what we're hoping to work towards in the future. All right, just so you know, that's kind of the idea we have. We have a trailer out here that's been gutted and ready to put everything into. But that's something that we want to get going on fairly soon. And so if you get a chance to talk with Glenn, you have skills, you have ideas, again, continue to push that forward, because I know we're getting to the point where we'd like to see our own permanent bathrooms out there ready to go, right? Okay? Laurie,
Yeah.
any other announcements that you have?
I don't think so. I was gonna say, on your table, if you notice, like, this says maple, but there might be a walnut, we're not calling you now. Those were favorites from last night's wedding, so they just sent them to us, so this is a thank you. So thank you, everybody, for coming and helping set up this morning.
All right, and any update on Chloe and how things are going?
I know that, I think they come back today. I meant to ask Marty. Oh, they leave tomorrow. I thought they left last night. Marty gave strong info. They leave tomorrow. So just keep them in prayer. They'll be at Disney World.
Check. Yeah, I got a little bit. All right, that sounds good. Again, for those of you that gave to help make a wish, we appreciate that. It looked like you were very generous, and it's appreciated.
It was, and if anybody wants, if there was somebody who was not here, this is Margie's great niece, Jess's niece, Chloe, who battled leukemia and had gone through bone marrow and has been cancer-free for 4 years, but it is back. And so Make-A-Wish just sent them all to Florida. So the grandparents are going. So we did a little collection for Sue and Paul that come to the Sue's granddaughter. So if anybody wasn't here and want to, where they're not leaving till tomorrow, if they feel led to, just let me know and I'll get the money to them. Just so that they have to spend all that way.
Right, so as they go, they're going to enjoy a trip together to, is it Disney?
Yes.
Okay. They'll probably edit that out, because you say Disney, they'll cut it right out and you can't put it on YouTube. They're going to go, and we're trying to help just have a little bit extra spending money, things like that. So if you want to be a part of that, see Laurie later on, and we'll make sure the money gets where it's going, okay? Today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been noticing lately in the news, in different areas, different venues, where I hear people talking about their take on a story. Now, when I talk about that, they use the words, of course they're not saying I have a different take on this story and I'm going to give you my view, but what they do is they talk about a narrative. Have you heard the word narrative lately in the news or anywhere around? And it's funny because they'll talk about, and if you've ever watched these clips where you watch the news, all the different newscasts, and they say the exact same line because someone's typing it for them and giving it to them, and it's like the same foolish rhetoric that's going out there all the time. If any of you love news, I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a bias about it because it's kind of foolish, most of it. And I'm kind of crusty and got my little ways of looking at things in less than, rosy ways. And I know that, but I just look at this stuff and it's so foolish. And the one I've been hearing lately, like I said, they talk about, we need to change the narrative. And I laugh about that because what does it mean when they're saying, well, we need to change the narrative? Or when they talk about the fact that the war we're having in the Middle East, with people that are cutting people's heads off, blowing people up, blowing themselves up, doing all these things. And they're like, it's a war of narratives. And I'm thinking, do the people that lost their lives feel like it's a war of narratives? Or do we feel like it's actually something going on here? And so as I looked at that, it reminded me of sleight of hand. Okay? What is sleight of hand? Okay, magicians or guys in the street that want to make money, and so they're going to do these things, and they say, "Where's the walnut?" And so they're moving the cups around. And what is the point of sleight of hand? It's to get you to look anywhere except for the place that they don't want you to see. They want you to look anywhere else except for the one thing that they're doing, because once they set it up and once it's accomplished, they can just build up whatever it is they said, hey, this is what happened, right? And what do you get to say about that? It's already a done deal. I have a little clip of a guy, David Blaine, I think is his name. You ever seen him? Is it Blair or Blaine? Blaine, sorry. David Blaine. The guy's amazing. He's ridiculous. The stuff he does it's stuff on the street, he'll do it right in front of people, and the next thing you know, you're going, how did he do this? It's just a quick clip of one of the tricks that he does. And anyway, just watch and hopefully see if you can catch it.
All these, right? Any card that you want, you can have, right? It's fair to say? Here we go, watch. Take one out. Take one. Don't let me see it. Which one? Okay, show it to them, show it to them. Here, take the deck. Mix it into the deck. Mix it up into the deck.
So, unless you really believe in magic, how did the card get on the other side of the glass?
His card.
His card. The one that he picked out in that moment. How did it get on the other side of the glass? We don't know. But we do know what? It's sleight of hand. Somehow, he figures out a way to get this guy to grab this card. Somehow, he gets somebody inside a restaurant to make sure that card's stuck on the window. Right? Has to be. Unless you believe in magic. If you believe in magic, we have a class after this. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's sleight of hand. How does he do it? We don't know. But what he's doing is he's getting you to see and believe his story, and he's making sure that you don't see the one thing that he doesn't want you to see. Okay? What he has to do is he has to sell the story. He has to sell the premise, the setup. And he has to sell it completely. Then he has to bring it home, you know. He has to make sure that that switch, once it's complete, he wants to bring it home and he wants you to be able to go, how did this happen? There's no explanation. But all of it is that setup. All of it is that story. And all of it is you making a connection. And in the news lately, when they say, I want to change the narrative, it's really sleight of hand, isn't it? It's really, look up over here, let me give you a bunch of things to consider so that you can disregard the true facts of what's really going on, right? It's amazing how we can be drawn into that because guess what? The Bible says that our hearts are desperate and wicked, okay? What does it mean when it talks about the heart being desperately wicked? It means emotion takes us places where we otherwise wouldn't be drawn. Does that make sense? Emotion, when you can be drawn into a story, when you can be drawn in and talk about, oh, you know, the poor and this and that and the other thing, a lot of the facts can all of a sudden be glossed over. They can be kind of hidden and covered. And so as we look at the Word and we look at what God has for us, what is our approach to the Word? We talked the other week about, I said, come up with your story. That what has God done in your life? What has He done? How has He saved you? And be ready to give the reason for the hope that is in you, right? We talked about that last week. What is that story about? Is it just about emotion? Is it just about something that happened to me and there's no facts involved? There is certainly emotion because what? It's personal. It's deep. It's about you. It's spiritual. But also, it is about facts. And the facts that led up to the truth are the facts that God has given us in His Word. Very important. And so the two go together. Now as we look at talking about the truth, I want to look at John chapter 8, verses 31 to 33. If you have the Bibles, you can open up to that. And Jesus is talking with the Pharisees and having disputes over different things, and it's talking about who Jesus is. And it says in verse 31, to the Jews who had believed Him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you really are my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. They answered Him, this group that were kind of arguing with Him, we are Abraham's descendants and have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be set free? Interesting question. Jesus comes to them and says, listen, if you understand who I am, and He was talking to a Jewish group at that time, right? And to them, who was He referring to? Who was He saying He was? He was saying He was the Messiah. I am the one that God promised who would come and take away the sins of the world. I am the one that God said would come for my people to rule in this world. Now, they didn't understand the more spiritual sense. They were thinking, oh, Messiah, He's going to come take over the world, and we're going to rule. And in that time, who was in charge in Israel? Who was running the place? Rome. And so they were being oppressed by Rome. So it's even funny that they said, well, hey, we're sons of Abraham. We've never been slaves to anybody. And yet they were living in occupied Israel with Rome in charge. So guess what? They were being oppressed. So even that's funny. But as they talked about it, and as Jesus talked about it, He was saying, you have been oppressed. You have been slaves to what? The way that you've been taught from the temple about how your relationship with God is has held you captive. You haven't been free because you've been slaves to sin. You've been slaves to trying to do things right under the law. And what did the law show them? The law showed them point blank. Guess what? You can try and do it as much as you want. You can try and be good. You can try and please God by the things you do, and what is going to happen every single time? you are going to fail. At some point, at one point or another, you're going to fail. Because we are what? Sinners. Now, let me give you an idea of this narrative that I was talking about when it comes to facts and understanding things. We have all seen beautiful little babies born into the world, right? We love them. And especially if it's family, it's like, oh, they're so cute, they're so beautiful, they're so innocent, right? And compared to us, a baby is quite innocent, true? Some people have used that to say that people are born into the world, people are born good. People are born, oh, they're good, they're lovely, and over time, they just kind of get into sin and they spoil, blah, blah, blah. Is that the truth from what we know in Scripture? The truth is, according to Scripture, that we're all born sinners, okay? That we are born with something broken inside already. Because just as Adam and Eve sinned, every one of their children after them bore that same trait, right? Adam and Eve were like God, they sinned. Once they had children, those children were sinners and born into the world. I used to have a professor at the Bible college I went to. And, you know, a lot of babies being born on the campus, you know, with the married couples, and whatever reason, there was something in the water, okay? So there were lots of babies. And every time there was a baby, he would say, oh, isn't that wonderful? Another heathen born into the world. And, you know, again, a little bit crusty. Love the guy. But, you know, the fact is that what he was saying was true. That there was another heathen born into the world. Because we look at the baby, we look at how cute and how innocent, and if you go from an emotional standpoint, and you talk about, oh, there's so much more innocent than us, and blah, 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 you could almost believe that we're born good, couldn't you? And then we get into the Word, we get into some facts. And the Bible tells us plainly, if we believe that sin came from Adam and Eve, that original sin, and through sin, death into the world, if we believe that to be true, well, then it holds a significance to be able to look at that little heathen and say, cute, but not as innocent as we might think. Innocent as a baby compared to us, but guaranteed a heathen nonetheless, and will fall into that role in some form or another, right? Every one of us understands that truth. So as we look at this element of truth, then we understand, you know, Jesus said, they said, you know, we're Abraham's descendants. We've never been slaves to anyone. All he had to do, they almost believed a narrative, didn't they? They almost believed a story. Well, we're free, and we don't have issues with sin, and because we're sons of Abraham. All they had to do was look at their lives. And Jesus pointed things out in a very interesting way. He would bring things up as, you know, they thought, well, they were perfectly sinless or whatever. He would bring things up, and all of a sudden they would go like, oh, that? Oh, that counts? We think about the rich young ruler, I believe it is, who comes along and he says, hey, Jesus, you know what? I've been pretty good all my life. I got this down. I have done everything I need to do. Is there anything else, anything I lack for salvation? Jesus looks at him and says, oh, well, you've been doing this, you know, love your neighbor as yourself, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Yeah, all my life. All my life, never missed a step. You know what's funny about that? If you asked his neighbors, they probably would have been like, nice guy, but Jesus listens to him, and it's funny because he says, what should I do? What do I need to do to have salvation? And a lot of people will look at that and say, see, you have to do something. Because Jesus looked at him and said what at that point? He said, go and sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and then come follow me. And some people would say, see, you have to give your life completely to Jesus. You got to sell everything. That wasn't his point, was it? What was his point? He was bringing a truth. He was crushing a narrative, and he was showing the absolute truth. He was saying, you haven't done any of this all of your life. You think you have. If you loved the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and loved your neighbor as yourself, you wouldn't have all the riches that you have. You would have been giving stuff away and taking care of other people and doing, and in this fact, he was able to look at it, and what does the Bible say happened to this guy? Put his head down and walked away sad because he couldn't do it. And so the truth is not just some narrative or story we decide to make up. The truth is the truth. And in understanding the truth, it will set you free. These guys said, we weren't under slavery. Yes, you were, because you didn't understand what? The truth. And when they came to understand the truth, and Jesus, obviously his words touched many, when those people would come to understand the truth and all of a sudden they'd go, oh my gosh, yes, the truth is, it's been about the Messiah all along. It's been about the one God's going to send to take away my sins, because my sins haven't been taken away. My sins have only been covered. And that because of God's grace. But he promised that one day he would send the Messiah to take away my sins. Once they understood that truth, everything else about what they were being taught and the whole narrative they were being fed, what do you think happened to all that? It melted away. Just like if the magician messes up and you catch him. If you catch the switch, if you catch the one thing that happened, what happens to the rest of the story? Falls apart. Because you see the truth and it sets you free. In our lives, we have the opportunity, as I said, to share with people. They'll ask about your story. They'll ask about what's different about you. Now, hopefully in a good way. Sometimes they ask what's different about me, and it's not a good way. But they'll ask what's different about you. Why? Because they see a truth at work within you. And to be able to share that truth in a way that isn't just about emotions and feelings. There'll be plenty there. But what about the truth and the facts? What is it that they're going to hold on to? What are they going to hear or walk away with that they can say, wow, that is true. That's what it's all about. That Jesus came into this sinful world and that he paid the full price for what I did. Nope. That is the truth. No matter what our story, whatever our narrative is, the truth is we are free because of Christ. How did it play out with you? I don't know. That's the beauty. It's different. But the fact is the same for each and every one of us, because when we come to heaven, when we stand before God, and he says, why should I let you, a sinner, into my perfect heaven? Heaven, perfection, not one sin. Not there now, nor will there ever be. So if we're allowed in, we have to be what? Sinless. Why should I let you, a sinner, into my perfect heaven? Our answer is only one. Jesus paid for my sin. That's my hope. He gave me his record as my own, and he took mine as his and paid for it. That is the fact. That is the bottom line. That is the truth. And that's what we live by. What effect does that have in our lives? Well, it frees us. It frees us from so many things because it's the truth that we can hold on to and say, everything else can have elements of narrative. But this truth here, it doesn't change. It doesn't change no matter what. It doesn't change. If you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. When we look at that, please don't mistake it for the things that often people will say, well, if you do what Jesus said, then you're his disciples. Not really what he was saying. If you hold to my teachings, he's talking to a group of people who are Jewish. He's giving them a new understanding of their Jewishness, okay? And he's helping them understand that I'm the one that God promised. As those who believe in Christ and what he did on that cross, what is our response? What is our call in truth as far as falling under what Jesus has called us to? What do? We do what we believe is right and true, not because it gets us something with God, not because we owe him something, but because we understand he's paid it all and said, you owe me nothing. And in that, what then do? what can I give of my life to show that truth and that love to the world around me? Right? It's an amazing difference. The sleight of hand that is in the news and in the world and what you're going to hear about narratives, and now that you've heard it, I want you to come back next week and say, oh my gosh, you know how many times I heard the word narrative? Ridiculous. As you hear that, listen to it for what it really is. It's sleight of hand. It's a little bit different. And then start to question the story and look for the facts, the truth, and then say, what is it really that they're trying to do? It'll open your eyes. It's amazing. As you go through, though, remember, no matter what the narrative is, we have a truth. And the truth we have, the world needs to hear, because they're hearing all the other narratives. They're hearing all the other stories. The sleight of hand's going on all over the place. And we can say, you know what? Forget all this stuff that's going around. Let me show you the real truth. And once you see it, the trick is exposed. The adversary doesn't like that fact, but once you see the fact of what it truly is, what Christ has done, the trick is exposed. And guess what? The narrative doesn't work anymore. That's the truth. As we close this morning, let's just pray and ask God to work within us through that truth to reach the world around us. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your love and your grace and the fact that your true story, the truth that sets us free, breaks through the narrative. It does away with sleight of hand because, Lord, you see everything. And your truth exposes all of the lies. Father, help us to live within that truth, to feel the freedom that you've given us and to share that with the world. So that, Father, as we love the world around us, again, as we said the other week, love until they ask us why. And then, Father, help us to be able to share that truth in a way that just gives more than the narrative. It gives a narrative, the story of our lives with the truth of your word. God, bless these things. We thank you for what you do in and through us. And we thank you for all in Christ's name. We're going to close with a song. The Old Rugged Cross. And the Old Rugged Cross is the main feature of that truth. That Jesus had to come and he had to die. Why? The Bible said it plainly. If you sin, you must die. That was right back in the beginning. God told Adam and Eve, if you sin, you must die. And as soon as they picked that fruit, as soon as they went against God, they did die. A lot of people say they didn't die, they were separated from God. And that is what we were born into. Separated from God. But God, through the old rugged cross, paid the full price so that we could be reunited. That's what this is about. Let's sing this together and focus on that truth.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. As we live this life, the truth is we head through it with His love, but headed towards the ultimate truth, which is eternity with Him. Share that with the world. Let them know your story, but let them know that it rests in that fact, that God paid it all. Have a great week, and God bless.
Voice of Truth doesn't